What's good with YouTube? You already know, Big Flocka with a convict's perspective, and I'm gonna smash, dash, slide on through that little bit of energy. Please hit the like, subscribe, comment, do all those things to help support this channel, and hit that bell notification for future buyer content. So, as you can tell by the title and thumbnail, man, prison, unpredictable, anything can happen at any moment. You could be there just getting a nice letter, eating a spread, preparing for a visit, just had a good phone call. Booyah, shit could just kick off just in a moment like nothing. And sometimes your affiliations could be the whole reason why you get attacked. Someone's having a bad day, someone's feeling a certain way, and they just want to take action. Now, this happens more so on the SNY yards than on the GP yards. So you got to look at everything from a whole two different lenses. One, you got the SNY where you can do pretty much almost what you want to do to a certain extent, right? But you got to be ready to you know what I'm saying, pay the piper when they come to collect or handle your business. Then you got the GP side, right? Which every, you know what I'm saying, facet of your life in prison is controlled by having to report what the fuck you're doing. You know what I'm saying? Pretty soon they're going to be fucking having people report what times they take shits and have to use the restrooms and all kinds of shit, man. You have to ask permission and shit. Homeboy's going to have to inspect it to make sure that you're really taking a shit. You know what I mean? All kinds of weird stuff, man. So you got, like I said, two different types of elements, but can be violent or crazy at any given moment, you know? Which to me, anybody that's out there listening should basically deter anyone from wanting to join any gangs or even fucking, hit prison. Sometimes people sit there and say, oh, hey, you're glorifying the life and this and that. It's not even glorifying it. It's explaining what it is, from our own truth, our own experience, or that the experience and truth of others who come on the show. So we got to really take heed to that, there's always a message in every story, even if you don't see the message directly, and if you look at everything and how prison is functioning and how you have no control really over your life because you are in an environment that's fucking very close proximity with all kinds of other convicts who some don't give a fuck about whether you survive, live, or, or make it home. It doesn't really matter. So think about that when you fucking tune into these videos and think about that, about how it's different on both sides. Active, SNY, level 4, level 1, right? And really look at it and ask yourself, is that the type of life that you really want to live? Well, that's the cost of your ego. That's the cost of wanting to be a gang member. That's the cost of wanting to be your own man. Or that's the cost of wanting to be a follower. These are all true stories, man. And it's evolved and it's gotten worse and worse. So ask yourself, what's more important? Your ego or picking up that bandana and then showing something that you hope others want to see in you? And if the only people you're really impressing is that small percentage that live in that same fucking world, because the rest of the world, what goes on in prison, who the members are, you don't mean shit to the rest of the world, man. And that's the fucking truth. Here's another video. Tap into it.
How you doing, Flocka? Yeah, what's good, man? Shoot, all right, man. Well, I'll just dive into it, man. On any, you asked me about any NC activities, besides, all the stuff the homie Gangsta Goon have put in right here in Kern Valley, and other than the riot that I gave you earlier today. There was a homie we had, the homie Kane. He came through and, he'd always been a hitter, I was with him in Corcoran when he chopped off this 2-5's nose off. And yeah, I got the paperwork on that right here too, bro. So I know you had asked. Yeah, I got that right here. So this is when he had done that was, 2015 Super Bowl day. And I'm right there chilling, man. I had a phone at the time, and I even had it on Facebook and whatnot, just him coming down the stairs and whatnot, all bloody and whatnot, looking like a mummy, the 2-5er, whose name was Spider from Corona. And, this was something that shouldn't have happened, though. I'll say that. It was something sponsored by, another part of the rider camp that us in Corcoran 3B at the time did not, we didn't agree with. and we had already went through 2 previous attempted murders on the yard against 2 fibers. And yeah, I got the paperwork on all that too, bro. So I'll provide that. But yeah, bro. So homeboy comes out for pill call, and we're like, bro, we had already told this dude, look, bro, you ain't doing nothing for nobody else. This is our yard. You ain't gonna blow up our yard. You come out, you program here. And I was asking him who the homie in the cell. And but he's a wild one. He was a wild homie. He always wanted to do the most. And nothing wrong with that. But everything has its place in its time. And so he comes out for bill call, and this 2-5er comes on the tier. He's at the end of the tier, and the homie waits in front of his door, just like, just posted up. Because a lot of people wait in front of their doors for the cop to close the door, because you don't want to leave the cell door open. Your cellie's in there, he could be, watching TV or whatnot, minding his own business, writing a letter, and, it's just common respect that you stand in front of your door until the cop closes it. So he posts up and waits for the 2-5er to get about 10 feet to him, and he just starts dicing this dude up, man. Dice him up bad. Like, he hit this dude so bad that his nose came off. Part of his nose came off. So, what do you call it? He's hitting this dude, he's whacking him, he throws him on the ground, and the guy gets a presence of mind and starts, holding his arm that has the tomahawk in it. And this dude's grabbing his arm on his back, holding the homie's arm so he can't strike down on him, and the homie just starts, using all he can. He grabs that dude by the throat with one hand, and he just starts smashing his own head into the dude's nose that's already gone. So yeah, that was a little that was kind of crazy right there, man. I was like, man, you trip, bro, like, man. But at the same time, it was something he should not have done, and it caused a lot of problems for the yard. But I pretty much told the 2-5er, look, bro, this is the third time your homie's been stabbed by us this year, and even though the homie was not supposed to do that, regardless, bro, the ball's in your court. I can't tell you not to retaliate. I'm just gonna tell you that we're ready, and do what you feel you need to do, bro. Like, I told the homies though, on my end, 2-5ers did not know. I said, look, bro, you go out, just take off on these fools. Take off on them and just keep them at bay. But yeah, that was all because of Kane. Kane, was doing whatever he wanted to do. And that's people gotta have a mindset for that, man. Like, on this side, you have a lot of people that just do things and they don't think about the consequences for everybody else. And you have something like that. And I went to the hole for it. I didn't even do nothing. I had nothing to do with that. They came to my door like 2 days later actually. They were searching, and I seen them searching that side, and they're gonna get to our side, of the building, probably later on. And I'm like, what the hell? They come to my door. They're like, you want to come on and talk to the sergeant? I seen IGI going. I'm like, nah, bro, I'm good. They're like, do I gotta go? They're like, nah, it's voluntary. So I refused. So long story short, 4 days later, they come after we had been searched and whatnot, and they're like, hey, want to go to the program office? Do the walks and talks, man, so you could let you guys off lockdown. Pretty much, we do little fake talks with any enemy group, and pretend that it's all good and come up and do what it do. Man, it was all set up, man. They took me up there. They took me in the home Playboy, Felix Cologne up there, who was another NC, and who later became NC after all this, me and him. And they took us up there and they okey doked us. There was no walking talk. There was none of that. They took us to the hole, and I got put on there for criminal gang investigation. Some crap they drafted up. And yeah, it was just all hoopla, man. Just bogus, but all over the homie Kane. Like I said, man, that's a wild cat right there. Now, the story when he became an NC was, the homie, he was with it, bro. Like, right before he became an NC, he had stabbed 3 2-5ers. He came out, he was on orientation, and the 2-5ers were at day room, and they called him the medical, and he stabbed 3 of them. It wasn't the greatest stabbings, but he came down and caught these dudes unaware, and he did his thing, came to the hole, and that's where he ended up becoming a part of the vehicles. He became a roamer.
Now, I'm probably gonna put this for part 2 when he gets recruited, right? This individual Kane, right? And it kind of takes me back to a lot of the dudes that were recruited in like the 80s and 90s into what was known as Nuestra Raza, right? And our structure. I think around 92 is when the NR started to really emphasize, the education aspect of the movement. Before it was always Guerra. Yes, you had your organization, your warfare tactics, making pieces, but it was always battle. And when you were in the hole, there was time to educate. But there was a term back in the days. You were pulled before you were schooled. And that's why you had these old timers, man, with big old brochures, right? NA on them, right? Nuestra raza, structure, whatever it may be. That sometimes we're not as educated, right, as the caliber of bros or with the caliber of leadership. You know, you're dealing with convicts, you're dealing with criminals, you're dealing with individuals who came in there sometimes not even knowing how to read or write, and you're molding them into a new individual. Therefore, you know, the pickings and the crops were not like how they are nowadays, to where they've sent more and more, average individuals to prison. See, that's what changed the most, I think, from like the 80s, 70s, and even 90s. Is sometime where around the 2000s, you had all these new sentencing laws, and it just filled up all these prisons with individuals who were not normal um, convict material. See, there was even carnals that were pulled at sometimes in the 70s and 80s. Yes, their schooling became emphasis, and they were supposed to know the Constitution, right? But you know, there's a story, man, about when I revoked an individual status that was, pulled illegitimately as a C, and I wanted him to feel comfortable in the household, and so I ended up putting him in an NT position. Man, when I seen his breakdowns and everything, I immediately fucking demoted him. Didn't demote him. I pulled him from his teaching position. I put him in as yard security, because security doesn't, with the writing aspect of things, and presenting like charges and all that, that's cool for your TS and whatnot, RAs, and as a maestro, right, as well. But a YS position, a lot of it's just fucking common knowledge, and just how to fucking evaluate a yard, and how to do counts, and just basic things that you don't have to have some of the teachings that maybe need to be on display. Like a lot of people who were in leadership positions would always write certain type of writing skills, and they were very well articulate, and they had an enriched vocabulary. And so, see, that's the difference that I'm seeing in a lot of these SMY groups, is that these dudes are just with the butchery. They're chopping motherfuckers up. And the active side, a lot of them are well schooled, because bond number 11, you're supposed to teach in school all those that are going to go to the prison. And schooling and security and the way that people operate in the county jail is almost like it is in prison. Therefore, they come into prison understanding things. But the whole brute force of battle and being threatened, it's not like you're seeing on these SNY yards. You never know when it's going to kick off. For instance, this thumbnail, right, it has nothing to do with the incident that we're talking about in this video, right? But that's a GBG, right? And he's going to square up with some Mexican dude. I don't know if the Mexican dude's GBG or what, right? But both of them have knives. So the GBG dude, right, pulls out his knife and was put in his pocket, but decides to give it to someone. Like, okay, look, I'll fight you with no peace. So the Mexican dude puts the fucking filetto in his pocket. They start to square off one-on-one, right? The GBG dude, or at least the one I know that's GBG, which is the taller guy, starts putting hands on dude. The other dude, GBG's partner, comes, jumps in when they're in the sally port, pulls the fucking piece out of the fucking Mexican dude's fucking pocket, and they both proceed to stabbing him, man. Even though he was already getting the best of him from the get-go. That's how prison is. You never know what can happen on any of these yards. You have to be treacherous. You have to be able to ride, till the wheels fall off. And it's why, like, for so long, the security precautions that Norteños used to have, because main lines were like that back in the 80s and 90s. They weren't all like how you see today, where everything's kind of politically structured. There was always segregation, but there was sometimes like you catch someone like one-on-one and shit would happen. The political like element structure of things does not even compare closely to what you're seeing nowadays on the main line. There were stories of like homeboys that would like square up one-on-one, like sometimes with a South Sider would, if there was disrespect. There was times where like they'd be working in the kitchen and shit would happen and weapons would be pulled. This kind of stuff happens. There was, stories to where coming off on a lockdown, you know, just being caught out of bounds in an area that wasn't really where you congregated, even though there had been peace in the yard, but they seen a chance to really fucking get you and victimize you. Oh yeah, it would happen, even if there was nothing going on in the yard. So everything was a little bit different, back in those areas. And that's why I say whatever happens, here on out with the end hostilities and with the reintegration, it's going to be kind of a surprise for a lot of people. I say a lot of people are going to fall off. There's going to be a lot of cowardice acts. And I think a lot of people are going to get exposed. So when I hear some of these stories, I'm like, man, this was how the main lines were in the 80s and 90s, man. I'm telling you right now, there was active GP yards that you can go to, and the enemy would talk shit to you fucking through the fucking door, and it wasn't considered shell soldiering because first chance they got, they were going to try to come take your fucking win. There was yards like Salinas Valley, I think it was D yard, right? Um, High Desert, where there was dudes that were what you would call no goods today, right? But they were on GP yards, but they were not active Norteños that fell under the structure or the NF, right? And they would be fucking seeing you. They would talk shit straight to you, like some mean fucking shit, man. But the first chance they got, they were gonna handle their business. You know, um, the Bulldogs aren't too far off about how things were, man. As far as the order, there would always be someone running the yard, right? But it was pick and choose. Those who wanted to politic, they politicked over there. This was a group over here. When it was time for war, fucking let's get it. So when I hear these stories, man, people don't realize it's how the main lines used to pretty much be back in the 80s and 90s. And the lines of communication were a little bit different back then. Like the communication with an organization was only for fucking like critical business. They weren't really as worried about what was going on in the main lines as people fucking anticipate until they had access to the yards, until that became a purpose to gain money. Then the NF started to worry about it. But back then, everybody was left to its own devices to pretty much function and safeguard itself, which is why the bonds were created. I kind of find all this stuff kind of interesting, man. Be it one that never went SMI, I never did, and I used to judge people at first, and now I'm no person to judge anybody. Period. You know what I'm saying? I still get confused around certain things because I'm used to operating a certain way. I always liked the structure. I always liked the rules. I always liked the discipline when I was in prison, and I used to like to lead by example. You know, what I'm saying? I used to be real harsh, put it that way, real harsh on people. Later on in my career, not in the beginning. Um, but then also you have on these yards a lot of misfits too. So prison, like I said, is a dangerous environment, man. And before you make that choice to catch a case or rock the way you want to rock, just really think it out, man. Because I'd rather one not go to prison and not experience all the fucking bullshit. Because like I said, you're dealing with a bunch of fucking evil individuals in there at times. There's some evil motherfuckers in there. Therefore, you gotta be evil too. You gotta be treacherous. You gotta be willing to fucking catch that body just like the next man is. And that's why a lot of us sometimes are still trained in that survival mode. And our survival mode sometimes is to take a defensive, not even to take a defensive fucking attack. I've always believed in offense comes first. Any sign of any little bit of threat, you don't wait for that fucking threat to fucking grow. You fucking deal with it. I've always lived by that philosophy, and I've always been able to justify when I was doing my thing. You know what I'm saying, in accordance to the laws. Because if that issue festers and it grows, you're potentially jeopardizing everybody there when you can get rid of it right there on the spot. Anyways, here's some more paperwork from this incident real quick for you guys to enjoy, man. Once again, Flaco Convict's perspective, man. I have some more stuff coming up though, man. You guys are gonna enjoy different types of stuff, man. You're gonna like it. That said, I'm gone.